First thing I need to make it clear is that Persians are not Arabs. Persians are not Arabs.
Goddamn right.
Oftentimes people confuse them with their neighboring Arab state of Iraq. Even today, like in an effort to separate themselves, those opposed to the current government in Iran continue to refer to themselves as Persian. Completely separate, completely distinct from Arabs, okay? Just had to make that clear. Next thing is the population of Iran. It sits at 83 million at the time of filming this episode, and it ranks number 17th in the world based on its population. For the religious population, Islam has the highest population and is the official religion of Iran. Shia Islam makes up the largest Muslim school of thought at 90 to 95%. Sunni Islam makes up 5%, and other religions make up like a tiny fraction, as well as those who are unaffiliated with any sort of religion. But while we're on the topic of population, with 70% of its total population being under 30 years of age, Iran has one of the youngest populations on the planet. As the youthful population tend to really shape the political activity in the country, they are said to be the most politically active of all the 57 Islamic countries. The youth have held power in politics in the country since the year 1997, and since the election of 2009, they've really held strong to their need for a democratic future.
They, in fact, are in the majority. And when it comes to having a say in this country, they're just warming up.
The official name of Iran before 1935 was Persia, but the Iranian people inside their own country since before 1000 BC have called their country Arya, which means land of Iran, or other names that mean the same thing. Now in 1935, the Shah of Iran at the time instructed the people of his country to call their homeland Iran. Iran went through another change after the historic overthrow of the government by religious clerics during the Iranian Revolution. Now this new name that came into effect was the Islamic Republic of Iran, and that happened in the year 1979. You may have also heard the term Farsi.
They speak Farsi, they don't speak Arab, they're Persians,
right.
yes, and there are a number of them here tonight because this is LA.
That actually is a Persian word for Persian, but in the 20th century it began to be used as a name of the Persian language. So Iranians, you can refer to them as Persian and they speak Farsi, but you wouldn't say that that person is Farsi. Tehran is the capital and largest city of Iran. Tehran was first chosen as a capital of Iran by Aga Muhammad Khan of the Qatar dynasty in the year 1796. Now despite the occurrence of earthquakes during the Qatar period, and even before that, some buildings still remain from Tehran's era of antiquity. Now let's talk about the food. So the food is a mix between Middle Eastern, Greek, and Indian cuisine. My favorite. Not as spicy as Indian food though, but they have a lot of variety in them. You can get fresh fruit, veggies, and a whole lot of nuts and grains are mixed in their food, so very healthy stuff. And there's also a wide range of meats like sheep, lamb, as well as chicken, of course. That's generally served with rice and bread. Black tea is a favorite drink in Iran. Tea is actually the national drink in the country. Iran is the world's 7th major tea producer, and Iranians have one of the highest per capita rates of tea consumption in the entire world. So if you ever go visit Iran, go get your cup of tea. Iran derives from an ancient civilization, so it only makes sense that it has tons of UNESCO World Heritage Sites, 23 in total to be exact. These include places like the capital of the Achaemenid Empire, Persepolis, and these places range from temples, bazaars, to incredible ancient water systems. And the final thing I want to share is that Persian rugs that are weaved in Iran are absolutely gorgeous. This art has been practiced for over 2,500 years, and it's the second largest export only to oil. Fun fact about this is that there's a belief in Iran that only God can be perfect, so there's always a single mistake that's woven into the rugs on purpose. In the year 2007, the Iran Carpet Company weaved the biggest hand-woven carpet in the world for an Abu Dhabi mosque. This thing was as big as a soccer field, and it had to be constructed in 9 parts and pieced together inside of the mosque. Number 10. The current Iranian flag was adopted in the year 1980, and it has 3 equal horizontal bands of green, white, and red. Green is the color of Islam and it represents growth, white represents honesty and peace, and the red stands for bravery and martyrdom. Now in the middle of the flag, you'll see this stylized representation of the word Allah. Along the inner edges of the green and red bands, there are 22 copies of the phrase Allahu Akbar, meaning God is great. Iran has also been dubbed the nose job capital of the world because a lot of people want to change the shape of their nose, especially young Iranian women. Iran is well known for its rhinoplasty industry, and that's like the actual term for a nose job, and they conduct more operations than in the US. Now here we have the Persian cat. This is one of the most popular and one of the world's oldest cat breeds. It originated in Iran, and the animal lived in the high plateaus of Iran, and its long fur kept them warm in the cold weather. It's also known as the Persian Longhair in English-speaking countries, as well as in Iran it's known as the Shirazi cat. Now, girls and women over the age of 9 need to wear a hijab when they go out in public, even if you're a tourist. During a period last century, Iran and various other Middle Eastern countries had banned the hijab. But nowadays, many places have a strict dress code for women, but Iran is one of the only countries where the penal code really enforces that you gotta wear the hijab. Although sometimes it's not always heavily enforced, it's still in place. Pakora isn't the first thing that may come to your mind when you think of Iran, but Pakora has become extremely popular in Iran since it debuted in the early 2000s. Men go to clubs as well as parks to show off their parkour skills, and women in Iran have taken part in the trend as well. It's become increasingly popular among women who use it as an outlet to develop strength as well as balance and to just stay fit in general. According to Tehran Times, 65% of the Iranian population is overweight. Over 55% of the population are physically inactive, which means not having at least 150 minutes of physical activity during each week. While about 65% of Iranians are obese or overweight, obesity itself affects 23% of the adult population. So that means the majority of people who are obese are the young ones. If you think Iran is a country made up entirely of deserts and all of that, well, no, you're totally wrong. Not only does it have a lot of mountains, but you can visit mountains like the Alborz Mountains. It's only a few hours from Tehran, the capital, and you'll find several ski resorts. The 2 main ski resorts are Dizin and Shemshak. Dizin is the largest at 8,700 feet, and it's higher than Europe's highest resort. Shemshak is slightly lower, but the slopes are steeper and more challenging. So it's really great for expert snowboarders and skiers. But there, however, is still a lot of sand. In fact, Iran's vast desert is the only remaining habitat of the cheetah. Slightly smaller than the cheetahs that you'll find over in Africa though. But this cheetah also is critically endangered, and it's estimated that about 50 of these cheetahs are still in the wild. Now, it's not all bad news though, because apparently their numbers are slowly rising. And that's good because cheetahs are my favorite land animals and I don't want them to go. The world's first practical windmills used to grind grain and draw up water were invented in eastern Persia around 500 to 900 AD. Over in Nashtafan, it's a windy town close to the border with Afghanistan. You'll see these horizontal windmills that are built out of clay, straw, and wood that have been used for centuries, and some of them are still functional to this day. That's pretty awesome. Now, if you ever visit Iran, then you gotta go and see this landmark right here in Iran's capital, and that is the Azadi Tower. It's situated at the entrance of the city, and it stands there like a watchtower that guards the whole city. This tower here was designed by Hossein Amanat, who's a Canadian Iranian, and he actually left the country after the Iranian Revolution. The tower was supposed to be built in celebration of the 2500th anniversary of the Persian Empire, but it actually meant the end of the Pahlavi dynasty that was then ruling Iran. So the original name of the tower was King's Memorial, and that changed to Azadi, meaning freedom. Now the tower is about 148 feet tall and it's covered in cut marble. Very beautiful, magnificent structure. Of course, we expect that from the Persians. They still have things from ancient times that are still functional today. Like, these guys were very smart. And the bonus fact I want to throw at you guys, for those of you who are familiar with Bible and spiritual spirituality and religion, it's believed that the three wise men in the nativity story in the Bible were actually Persian. One of the tribes, the Magi, the name used for the three wise men, were actually Zoroastrian priests. Their religious practice and their use of astrology actually caused derivatives of the term Magi to be associated with the occult, and it led to the English term magic being created.